So I'm sitting here in my favorite hunting stall in the utmost beautiful spring weather conditions. And I'd like to share a little book with you that lately started occupying my mind again. The book is called The Science of Getting Rich by W.D. Wattles, or Watlers, or whatever. It's first published 1910, so 116 or something years ago, and that's the good thing about it. It's entirely free to get online. You can read it right now on homepages I will link in the description. And yeah, I've read it the first time about 5 years ago, and I remember I did read it multiple times because it gave me something very important. So what I got out of this book is something that helped me out a lot getting out of a difficult mindset, or at least partially out of it. I barely remember the specifics about the book, the details, but the message is very clear to me still, so I will talk out of that. I probably read it again at some point, but I can't find it right now, and I like to read my things in physical condition. Yeah, in the end of this video I will give an analogy that my mind created by the input of that book. That is a very beautiful and nice way to think about the future, which is why I feel kind of urged to share that. Yeah, let's start with the book. Thing is, I initially didn't buy it. Didn't want to buy it for the title, because the title is including the words science and rich, which are two things that I don't resonate well with. And I think this title is chosen intentionally, because it is aiming towards people that are maybe more trapped in a materialistic worldview, where they are more scientific and more, I don't know, let's say grounded in structure. But if you read in between the lines, it transports very important messages that I'm pretty certain will help most of you out. So the main message that stuck to me with this book is that resources are unlimited. Nothing will ever run out. It explains it that way, that if we would run out of something, of some resource that already exists on this planet, then just by looking for it, it will be created again out of the ether, so to say. So if we farm away all the gold that we can find, and then we start looking for more, then we will find caves that have been overlooked, or by some coincidence we find, well, certain deposits of it in some mountain. And I have a problem with that mindset if it's used with the wrong intentions. Because if we look at this mindset out of a viewpoint of someone that is just greedy and that's stuck in a loop where this individual needs to prove himself and to show off. In other words, an individual that is not focusing on giving something back, but it's just focused on its own ego. So if that individual would, let's say, buy a big cruiser, like a ship, that is only used to make parties on it, and most of the time it will just lay in some port doing nothing but being a status symbol, then it's a huge effort, both time-wise and in resources, that is just wasted for pushing an ego of someone. And if this someone has the mindset that everything is unlimited, then we will steer towards the world we live in already, where we have no respect whatsoever and we take things for granted. We have no gratitude for things we use and waste. But the other way around, when I look at myself, much of my pain is resulting from the feeling of lack, the feeling of destroying nature and seeing how people, including myself, consume things mindlessly that don't really lead anywhere but to destruction. And if I can keep it up front in my mind that things are unlimited, then I have less things that distract me from the present moment, and I have less things that distract me from the beautiful things that are left right now of nature. Because there is beauty still to be found. But if I always think about all the nasty stuff, then I could sit in the most beautiful spot and still I'd feel rather dull and incapable of seeing the beauty of my present moment. So as with everything, there's a balance to be found in this point of view. A balance in between the decadent way of abusing the material world for egoistical purposes, and in between a healthy feeling of abundance, that you always have everything you need, but still you choose to take these things and use them in gratitude. And with that viewpoint, this book also talks about how in a practical way to achieve abundance, material abundance for yourself. Which after 5 years now, I didn't really follow it that much, and it's not really a focus of me to I don't know, become rich or anything. Although it is a focus of me to get out of lack. Yeah, and why I share especially this book is it is super easily digestible. At least the German version I read took me just a couple hours to read the first time. The English version has around 150 pages, not sure about the German version. And it's, in my eyes at least, very straightforward. It's a fast digestion of information that is very giving if you use this information with the right mindset. And the highly motivational analogy that keeps me going often is that we already have built the very foundation of living like a fucking fairy, where you could think of anything you ever want to consume, in what way ever. You could think of any creational tool you would like to have for whatever. And yeah, if we think of that and we go online, open some shop, we can find everything that we can imagine and much more than that. And then we click on it, and a couple days later it's in front of our door, which in itself is something I am fighting in a way, even though I lately order a shitload of things. But if you take away the price tag of these things, then you basically live in a world where you can just do everything you want, everything you can think of, and you are supported heavily by all the products on the market already. So the only thing that needs to go is the greed. Imagine a shopping center, like a mall, that is not designed with profit in the foreground, that is designed in a way where it respects whoever goes there, it respects the resources it was built with and it offers. And it doesn't use price tags, it just offers you every possible product for free, and you can go there and get it. And if people would have the mindset of, like, if they would get out of lack and out of greed, they would take what they really need, and they would easily give away what they don't need anymore, because they don't have to save up money for something. In other words, if a bigger part of people on this planet would find the balance in between greed, lack and abundance, this world would turn into a utopia so fast we wouldn't believe it. It's It's so close, yet so far. And that's another thing the book mentions, that God, whatever God is for this, for the author and for you, created war, fear, I don't know, all these nasty things you can think of, in order to increase the speed of what we produce. Like, if you look at war, the war machinery we build is exceptional. Even the internet is, in the first place, it was a product of the military that was used for communications, for all the wrong reasons. But now in the open hands, it can be a very powerful tool. So yeah, it's said that God created all these things and created wars and everything in order for us to build up the foundation very efficiently that is needed for a utopia that we can maybe imagine, that we can live out even. We could live out already. And that's why I think that just a single book under the right circumstances could really change everything, every mind on this planet. Well, books did that before, did they? Just not in the right way again. And maybe there is some great awakening, and maybe things are in a big stir towards the better. But I cannot know that, and at the moment, if I look at the world, it doesn't really feel like that. It feels like the pretty opposite. Yeah, since I will never know, all that's left for me is to hold on to the idea that there is some sort of great awakening. Who knows, maybe that's why I feel the urge to share that book. And all the individual can do about it is to look at themselves. Change itself is effortless. It just happens all the time, constantly. The difficulty is to let the old things go. Your mind is so used to grasping onto the conformities of what is inside of your comfort zone, because it knows, your brain already knows by experience that however life is for you, it works somehow. It keeps you alive. And your brain doesn't care if it's pleasant or not. It cares about surviving in the first place. And when change is happening, our brain, it sticks to the experiences we know about already. So everything new is a new experience, and every new experience could potentially be something bad that brings your life in danger, because it doesn't know, does it? So the ultimate goal for me and for many others should be to embrace change and to look at it in a more neutral way, to let change happen, to not be afraid of something new, to open up the possibility that this change might actually do something good. Although it's not always easy and comfortable, and it can be rough and emotionally tolling, which would be reasons to be afraid of it, but that price, if we pay it, it rewards you with endless potentials. My battery just died, but it was the perfect place to end it anyways. One last thing I want to mention for those that have hard times reading and that think that they have too little time to read, that you could literally just take 10 minutes off a day, read that book. Before long you read that book entirely, and you've filled your mind a little bit with something more giving and profound. That hopefully helps you along the way. And if you say you don't have these 10 minutes every day at work, if you're occupied by work, you can take a little break of 10 minutes. Say you go to the toilet to take a big shit. Say you have digestion problems, I don't know, think of something. And these 10 minutes you can take pretty much every day in order to read that book. And if you do it like that, you even get paid for that. Isn't that cool? So read a book and take care.